All right, we're done.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roll with Advantage, and welcome to the very, very, very first session of our brand new campaign, The Crimson Court. We are so very, very, very excited to dive in to the campaign. So let's not delay any further. Let's jump right in to our game. You guys ready?
Yes.
As ready as I can be.
Yes.
I can do it.
It's real.
You know what? Let's delay it a week, actually.
You know what, guys? Actually, sorry. I need to cancel.
Sorry,
I
next
can't
week.
play tonight. I'm a little
Shit on.
sleepy. All right. So, by the way, thank you to Gemma for making this wonderful overlay, and as well as all the wonderful PC character art. But let's go ahead and dive in to our prologue, as we're going to be doing a sort of double feature tonight with our 0.5 session to introduce all the characters individually, give them their own spotlight, and then diving directly into our session 1, the kickoff of the Crimson Court campaign. Blood is thicker than water, or so the saying goes, yet the halls of Adaria's nobility, in most cases, a brother's sword has been known to cut deeper than any foreign blade. The realm's history is haunted by the spill of kin's blood, where intrigue and ambition bloom in place of simple loyalty. Now, 5 heirs of King Talon, each born under different circumstances, carry the burden and the promise of their father's name. Their lives have diverged into starkly different paths, far-flung duties, hidden struggles, and quiet hopes that have shaped them into who they are today. But at their father's summons, they are called home, back to the keep of Dragon's End, within the capital city of Crown's Rest. Before they enter that grand hall, let us look upon the moments that they first chose or were guided towards the roles they fill now. It's in these quiet flashes of childhood and in the lives they've built since we glimpse what truly bonds this family. And we are going to start with the eldest, firstborn son, Edwin. Edwin, your life begins. And the early days of your life is lived in a warm, cozy cottage near the sea. The air, it smells of salt and lavender. Sunlight spills through the windows. It casts a golden hue across the room. Outside, waves crash gently across the cliffs. A soothing lullaby beneath 2 voices, the 2 voices of 2 overjoyed parents. Young Edwin, you stand before a small, worn table at just the age of 1 year old. In front of you, Edwin, there are 3 items. A wooden dove, smooth and simple, carved with care. A noisemaker shaped like an elephant, painted with bright blues and yellows. And a music box, its tin lid decorated with flowers and dancers twirling when it's wound. Now, 1 year old Edwin doesn't have any knowing of what this is. This is the choosing ceremony. It is what every single child in Adaria goes through between the ages of 3 to 12. However, Edwin, you're going through it much sooner than many others. 1 year old Edwin has no comprehension of what this means. But you see your father. He kneels in front of the table, a young man, only in his 30s. Long black hair and a coarse black beard, tanned skin from so many months at sea. Wind tussled. As he kneels beside you, he grins ear to ear, his voice warm and booming. Go on, my boy. Pick whichever you like. It's yours to keep forever. Now, John, of those 3 items, you don't need to pick the one that you think 1-year-old Edwin would like the most, knowing what you know about Talon in his entirety up until the campaign starts. Which item makes the most sense as a driving force or a driving point or inspirational to who he grew up to be? A wooden dove, a noisemaker shaped like an elephant, or a music box?
The dove.
Edwin, as you look amongst what's there, the small child barely able to keep his weight up, looking down, sort of his chubby little hands tapping the table, trying to grab one of them. Your mother kneels beside you, a woman with deep chestnut skin, beautiful green eyes, and long raven hair. She smiles at you the same as your father and says, "Take your time, love. Whichever you want, it's yours." And as you look to her, give a little baby chortle laugh, and look back down, your hand falls on the dove. You grab it and take it into your hands and pull it close. As soon as you do, Talon shoots up, sweeping you into his arms, squeezing you tightly, laughing. "Look, Zara! Our Edwin has made his first great choice." As he holds you in his arms. The warmth in that cottage, it feels eternal. Edwin, you have never felt safer in that moment, and you have never felt so loved. However, life does not stay that way for Edwin. Where at once he was in tropical canopies in the far east, now he lives in the north, in snowy tundras. A sturdy wooden house in a Nornathi village. The faint glow of a hearth makes the space feel warm despite the cold winds howling outside. The walls of this cottage are lined with modest possessions, reminders of his travels, his life as a healer, and the memories of those he's met along the way. Edwin steps out of his house, now in his mid-40s, and he shuts the door behind him. As the camera pans, Edwin, to face you as you step outside into the cold world in front of you, please describe your character.
Yeah. So as Edwin steps out, closes the door, and kind of pulls up a very big fur cloak over his garments, you see a man in his mid-40s, a neatly trimmed beard with round black glasses, resting upon a red nose at this point. It is cold. You see as he looks out, there's a big smile across his face. Underneath the cloak, there is armor that is worn but well maintained, very royal. It doesn't really look like it's made for combat as much as it's for decoration at this point. Layered beneath that is a sage green cloak that reaches down to the bottom, and you can see there's dirt trailing and snow that has built up at the edges of it. On his side, he carries his shield, a kite shield, well, a smaller version of a kite shield, with a buckle across his shoulder, and it has the Falkrest crest on it, which is the a blackbird rolling over the hills. You see that as he shuts the door, he grabs his staff, this very, very beautiful white, almost marble-like staff that leads up to this golden, like almost like leaves kind of spiraling around a tower in the center. And on the staff itself are these tapestries. They're very thin tapestries that have writing and words on them, but in different languages, scripts from ancient religions and of his order itself. Yeah, that's Edwin.
Awesome. So as Edwin steps out, those small tapestry and bits of cloth, as the wind blows in his face, catching his cloak, and those small pieces of paper, they flow in the wind. He breathes in that cold air, an air that he's grown to love, for everything that he's grown to love about this land, so much more than what anyone could comprehend. in his time away from Adaria. However, the day is young and Edwin has work to do. The wind, it carries that faint chill of fall, made even colder by the Nornathi lands. Like I said, there's comfort, but Edwin has work to do. You pull up that hood on your cloak to keep your ears warm, and you begin to make your way towards the headquarters of the Church of the Unbroken. This modest hall where warriors and priests bustle about, and you seek out head hand Father Aldrin Stillwater, an advisor to you, a mentor to you within the Church of the Unbroken that you consistently go to for advice and aid. An older man. As you make your way into the chapel and you make your way up to him, he nods to you and smiles, and he clasps your shoulder with a firm grip and says, "Good morning, Brother Edwin."
Morning.
Morning. Sadly, there's no rest for the faithful today. A skirmish broke out near one of the forward camps of the village. The clans clashed at dawn. Yes, again. There's wounded that needs your care. You know as well as I, but they're hard fighters and even harder patients, so try your best to give them the care that they need.
Yes, hopefully they allow me to do it a little bit faster this time.
I'll
Thank
try
you,
and keep
Father.
the restraints away this time.
Is there anything else that I need to attend to?
No, once the warriors are healed, you're free to do whatever you wish for the rest of the day. I know you keep yourself pretty busy after working.
Yes. Well, I'll be back later. Thank you.
Very good. Yes. And he points the direction, but you know exactly where to go. This has been your life for, the past couple of years now that you've sort of relocated to this one particular monastery. But you make your way towards that forward camp. You find, after walking through the village, taking about 15, 20 minutes to get to the other end, you find that forward camp. No! You find pitched tents. Pitched tents. No!
Clip it.
Hey, there's your first
Clip
one.
it.
Look like tits. Clip those tits.
God damn it. We're 20 minutes in, dude, and I couldn't.
Jarvis, clip that.
Jarvis, clip that.
It's
I
good
will
to know
say
that Edwin
before-
takes his job
Mama milk
seriously.
As Edwin does walk out, he shuts the door behind him. He has a bag underneath his cloak that he opens and starts counting. He goes 1, 2, 3. All right, and closes the bag.
Okay.
And then starts walking towards the
All right.
thing.
Sounds good. You find pitched tents in that frostbitten field. And you also hear the sound of not only groaning warriors in pain, but the sounds of warriors that are actively denying aid. You hear it muffled from behind the tent as you hear, "How about you get your fucking hands off me, priest boy? I want nothing to do with your medicine." As you hear a decisive spit, and a priest go, "Oh no," and the foot patters away. As you enter, you see several warriors that are unconscious, accepting the aid as they should. And you see others that are conscious and are actively fighting back against the priests of the Church of the Unbroken that are trying to help them. Some of these warriors you have heard of before, but they're resilient. They don't want to be healed. They think these wounds make them stronger. What does Edwin do in this moment to try and get them to take the healing? What does Edwin do?
Well, first he's going to assess the area. He's going to look for the one that almost seems like on the brink of wanting to accept healing, and then find the one that's like not even changed their mind a little bit. And he's going to go to the one that hasn't changed their mind at all first.
Mm-hmm.
But before he interacts with that person, he's going to look towards the priest and kind of tap them on the shoulder and say, "Good morning. What is going on here?"
Yes. My prince. There was a skirmish outside the forward camp when two clans clashed. This one here, as he kind of tries to wipe away the little bit of spittle that's on his face that's starting to crystallize and turn to ice. This one here suffered a mighty stab wound to the side. Nothing vital, but he is bleeding and he's refusing any type of healing magic. He's the worst of it for sure, and he's the most adamant against receiving any healing.
Edwin kind of tilts his head forward and, all right, let me talk to him. And he kind of walks over and says, hello, good morning.
Not another one. Listen here, and you see this like grizzled, scars across the face, battered, bruised body. You can see the wound in his lower stomach, right on the side. It's this like gash that's pretty deadly, and there is a bandage over it, but you can see that it's pretty damp with redness as the blood is starting to seep through. But he's incredibly resilient for a man that suffered that type of wound. As he said, listen, I don't care who you are or what type of magic you promise. This is going to recover on its own, all right?
Medicine. Can I look? Sorry, I almost asked for the roll. Can I look and see if it's going to heal on its own?
Yeah, make a medicine check. With advantage. You've been doing this a while.
I almost said, can I make a medicine check? And that's not what you ask.
Okay, dirty 20. Filthy. You see that the wound is quite large, and without at least some type of stitching, it will not heal on its own. If anything, it'll just continue to get worse, maybe rip more, definitely get infected, if at least it's not stitched and cleaned.
Edwin looks at it and says, what's your name? Mine is Edwin. I am of the Order of the Unbroken.
Ulf. Skullbreaker.
That is a great name. Some around here call me Lone Wolf. Is that ring a bell?
That's fucking you? No way. Do you have it on you?
He shows.
That is you. Gods be good.
Now, if you can reject medicine healing at all, but as you are a very well-off warrior and a very good fighter, I am a very good healer. And I can tell you, if you don't do anything about that wound, it'll get infected and you'll be either down for months or even worse, death. I don't have to use healing magic if that's what you're afraid of. We can use medicinal herbs, some sallows, and stitch it back if you would like that. Or if you would prefer the very quick method to get you up on your feet by, I would say, midday tomorrow, I could heal it with magic.
Midday tomorrow.
Yes.
Make a persuasion check.
Or, okay.
With advantage again, since you showed the thing, whatever it is. 14. Fine, just get it over with. You see, he kind of raises his arm, and you can see as he does, the bandage kind of like rips a bit, and like more blood begins to kind of pour out.
And everyone grabs his hand, and you can put it down. It probably feels better that way. Edwin removes the bandage, and he's going to take a new bandage and kind of try to get all of the blood around it, and then he's going to place his hand on it and cast Cure Wounds.
So as you do, what does it look like when Edwin casts Cure Wounds?
First, before he puts his hand on there, he is going to look around, and I assume the ground is dirt and snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to grab some dirt and kind of wipe it in his hands, and he's going to almost say some words near his hand, And as that does, the dirt kind of glows, and he puts his hand on to the wound, and the dirt kind of turns almost into clay, and then turns into skin, and like absorbs and heals the wound.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you see this kind of, all the priests around Edwin see this transmutation happen as connecting to the earth and the soil and channeling that magic, the natural restorative nature of the earth. You funnel that into this Nornathi warrior, Ulf. You see as he kind of like grimaces for a moment at that like singe of pain, like the infection being burned away, and he sort of... You see the ragged breathing goes away as he returns, and he kind of sits up and he like pats it, and there's a bit of dirt that he wipes off. And you see this like bright red strip of flesh where the wound was, and it's still healing, but the wound is closed. And he immediately like grips you and like into a hug and squeezes you and says, "Thank you, brother."
Of course.
Yeah, that's...
I might need to heal my shoulders after that.
Yeah. And a Darien with a Nornathi spirit. You don't see that often. And he gets up and he like smacks you on the shoulder. He's not resting anymore. He walks out of the tent.
He looks to the priest. Keep an eye on him. He should be fine, but if he does pass out, he probably has an adrenaline rush right now. Just keep an eye.
Yes, of course, my prince. Thank you very much for the assistance. And he keeps like bowing his head.
And yeah, I guess Edwin, handling the worst of them, makes his rounds.
Yeah. All right. So, Edwin, you make the rest of the rounds. You go to the rest of the Nornathi warriors, and some absolutely refuse healing magic. Some take it. And after several hours, the majority of the wounded have been healed. There were a few that couldn't be saved. Sadly, the wound's too grave, but that's an occupational hazard. It happens. It doesn't make it any less hard to watch these brave warriors perish. But most of them die with a smile on their face. They died in battle. It's a great honor. Rather that than fat and old and in a hall with no battle in sight. As you finish up the last of them, speaking with the various priests that are there, maybe imparting a lesson or some wisdom to the younger priests that are there, the head hand reapproaches Father Aldrin, and you see him carrying a sealed letter. It takes you a moment to focus in on it, but once you recognize it, it's unmistakable. The sigil of House Falkrest. And not only that, but the wax seal, the royal seal of House Falkrest. The silver sigil of the Falcon. Father Aldrin approaches and says,
"This came for you while you were working. It's from the king himself."
Is it urgent?
It's from the king? I think it would be.
Yes. I always think father before king, but he's been doing this for so many years, I continue to forget. Thank you. How long ago did it come?
Maybe an hour ago or so.
Okay. Let me reconvene with you in about 10 minutes. Let me read it. We might need to be packing up.
He nods, and he departs back to the main temple. So, crack open the seal and read the letter.
My eldest son, Edwin. I know your work with the church keeps you busy, and you're currently on one of your missions, but I require you at home. I've sent 10 priests from Crown's Rest to cover the work you leave behind. It is important that you leave with haste. There will be a ship waiting for you in Skyhaven to take you to Crown's Rest. An armed guard stands ready to escort you when you are prepared. Be safe, my son. I love you, and I'm excited to see you home when you return.
Signed, Talon Falkrest.
All right. Looks around. Opens his bag again. he can wait a day. And he goes and tells, oh my gosh, Aldrin. Right? That's his name.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he tells Aldrin and says, we'll make for the ship tomorrow evening.
Keeping the king waiting, huh?
I have unfinished business. We'll just say that we were held up. Well, I'll explain.
Very well.
All right. Well, everyone who is coming back with us, let them know. I will see you tomorrow. Good night, Aldrin.
Good night, Edwin.
And
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what did you want to do?
Two things. The first thing is he goes scavenging for something in the nearby tree line, probably petrified forest or pine forest or whatever is nearby.
Yeah.
To find a thing. He finds it. It's not that hard to find. But then after that, he makes one final stop. He has some friends that he wants to
Of course.
tell goodbye. He tells them goodbye. Tells them he'll probably be back normal time a year from now. And with that, he's got all the things that he needs. He packs his things, keeps to his schedule, goes to sleep.
All right. Edwin, you finish out your day. You wake up the next morning, finish a final few chores, say a final few goodbyes, and you begin to make your way towards that armored guard in Skyhaven. You see the camp of the Adarian Watch, these royal soldiers meant to escort you back to the keep, back to that royal bastion of Dragon's End. You stand on this frost-covered hilltop, looking out over the sea as the sun rises. The wind carries the faint echo of Nornathi war horns in the distance. But in front of you, you know that the path leads to a duty that must be fulfilled back home. The camera lingers on you for just a little bit more, the letter in your hand, and the scene slowly fades to black. As we move on to our next child. The second born, Xanthi Falkrest. Right. Xanthi, your choosing ceremony is quite different. Yours takes place at the age of 6, within the grand hall of Crown's Rest. As you are the firstborn, royal, noble-born child, not the firstborn bastard. As you overhear so many adults continue to say in this arena, in this hall. The words are lost to you, being only 6, but it's something you remember. It is a towering space filled with gilded pillars, rich tapestries, and polished marble floors that reflect the light of hundreds of braziers. It is magnificent. The air smells faintly of wax and incense. Lords, ladies, priests, retainers, they watch from raised benches, their murmured voices filling the hall like an approaching storm. Xanthi, you are clad in a pristine white and gold gown. You stand small yet unwavering at the center of this hall. And around you stands 2 individuals. To your left, your father, King Talon. He stands behind you, tall and strong, a steady presence, encouraging, a smile on his face. And to your right, your mother, Cassia Astralor. She watches you, serene, collected, and as cold as polished ice. And in front of you, on top of a velvet-draped pedestal, there are 3 items. A silver ocarina, a delicate instrument shaped like a fish, its surface adorned with tiny sapphires. A training sword, a dagger-sized blade of dulled steel, its emerald hilt catching the light, and a gold crossguard, flawless and regal. And finally, a wand, a masterwork of oak, its core embedded with coatl quills, and it shimmers faintly with this arcane luster. You look at the 3 items. You know what this day is. This is your choosing ceremony. One of these 3 things will be with you for the rest of your life, and every single noble in this room will be trying to guess why you picked what you did. Now, Gemma, as you go to pick, same thing I said to John, don't think about what 6-year-old Xanthi would pick. Think about everything about Xanthi's life and what she might pick that would be symbolic of that. But Talon, your father, he crouches beside you, his hand firm and gentle on your shoulder, his voice filled with warmth and pride.
My girl, you are strong, all right? Stronger than any whisper in this room. One day,
As he looks out to the crowd,
you might lead them all. But strength means never showing fear. Whatever you choose today will be yours and no one else's. Not lords, priests, or gods can take that choice away from you.
he smiles, and he stands back up, looking out to the crowd. So, Xanthi, as you raise your hand and begin to move towards one of those 3 objects, the chamber hushes. Everyone holding their breath. Priests lean in closer, their expressions a mix of reverence and something entirely unreadable, like they're seeing some glimmer of destiny. So, what does Xanthi choose?
I think in that initial period, you like at least her parents were able to tell there's like a lot of hesitation. Like she knows this is an important decision, and she's looking at these things like, what the fuck do I pick? But then she's going to kind of look up to the people that are watching on, and just like hear what Talon just said to her, like that strength, and she is going to pick up the sword.
Okay. Xanthi, as you pick up the sword and hold it up to present it to the entire room, there is this celebration, clapping, cheering from all the nobles, and Talon celebrating as well, his voice booming, filling the hall. He lifts you into his arms so you can be seen from every corner of this room. You, Xanthi, you feel like you can be seen from every corner of Adaria as he says loudly and proudly, "There! Look at her, my daughter! The future of Adaria!" The crowd cheers. Some murmur. And the priests of the Church of Unity, of the Church of the Unbroken, they look to each other, worried, murmuring expressions on their face. Cassia, as Talon sets you down, looks to you with a smile and says,
A fine choice, my daughter. But never forget, greatness demands discipline.
As the weight of the hall settles onto Xanthi's shoulders, expectations, admiration, and doubt, all at once, so incredibly heavy to rest upon the shoulders of a 6-year-old. Xanthi, as life continues on, you grow in to yourself. As life shifts and changes and changes and changes, you grow to be more strong-willed, more confident, and what some believe to be more powerful. However, today does not feel like a powerful day. as you are a servant. Our scene picks up in the bustling servants' quarters and cellars of Crown's Rest, as the keep prepares for Lord Regent Gareth Thornfield's name day celebration. Servants rush with trays of wines, meats, and decorations. The air is alive with the sound of preparation, carts rolling by, servants yelling at each other back and forth to try and make sure that everything's perfect for his name day. And you, given the job you received from Talon, it is your responsibility to do all the planning and to make sure nothing goes wrong. So Xanthi, now in your early 30s, as the camera pans through the crowds to find you at the center of it all, commanding hordes of servants, cooks, and entertainers. As the camera pans to reveal Xanthi Falkrest, I'd like you to describe your character.
So Xanthi is definitely a taller figure, especially so as she's often wearing heeled boots. Both her skin and hair are a pale, almost white blue, as she is a tiefling. And she's the kind of person that I think, especially here, just feels like she's looking down at you, just like, down through her nose at people. And she has just these very unnaturally vibrant blue eyes as well, which are contrasted by, like, black sclera. Even though she's just doing more, like, I guess, administrative things, she still wears a silver breastplate with the kind of side panels of it being lined with a embroidered fabric. And she has these strips of blue that just kind of drape across it as well, giving that very regal kind of air to her. And she has just this large white cape that also just flows behind her as she's just pacing around, like, giving orders, just correcting every little minor thing that may be wrong. And she also has, of course, horns that sprout out just a little bit above her ears, and they arch basically straight upwards to sharp points above her head. And then, of course, at her side, she also has a trident, which is made of a bronze, but it's so meticulously shined that it appears to almost be made out of gold. And that's her.
All right. So Xanthi, when servants approach you, I mean, they melt in fear. They cower. They try to project confidence, but there is fear. They want to make sure everything is right. You see a crowd of maybe 4 or 5 servants off to the side. They keep whispering back and forth to each other and then looking to you and then back to each other. And they push one servant out in particular, a younger elven woman. Her hair shaven at the sides and braided at the top, sort of medium length, auburn hair. A very, very, very small framed young girl, maybe 20, 21, as she slowly approaches, shaking. As the rest of the servants notice her nervousness and kind of part as she approaches and says, my princess, if I may have a moment of your time, please.
Please make sure it's only a moment. What is it?
Of course, princess. The private reserve, the specially imported Fionian wine for Lord Gareth Thornfield, it has gone missing. It was delivered to the keep this morning, but we cannot find it.
And how exactly does the whole reserve go missing? Were there not guards posted?
There were. It was in the lower storerooms. But we can't find it now. And when we tried to ask the guards, but they didn't want to speak with us.
Well, I can deal with that, I suppose. We need a backup, though. We should have another reserve. It won't be as high of quality, but at least make sure we have it on deck.
Of course, princess. We will do everything we can. We will search Crown's Rest up and down, all the way. Of course, princess. Yes, princess.
Is there anything else, Princess?
No, just fix the situation, please.
Of course, Princess. Yes, yes. As she, like, graciously bows 3 or 4 times, stepping away until turning around and running back to the others, and you hear her, we need to search all of Crown's Rest immediately for some other type of reserve, some type of cask of wine, anything of nice quality, all right? And they immediately scatter like rats.
And she will, kind of scoffing as she leaves, like, you know, this isn't the kind of shit she likes to deal with. Like, she likes it when things are pre-planned because she's planned this shit in advance. And when things go wrong, it's like, they have one job. And so she is going to take herself... She's going to take herself down to where that original reserve would have been, hoping to talk with the guards there.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way into the large storeroom that's part of the of Dragon's End, and as you make your way into that storeroom, making your way down the stairs, you find the area where the cask should have been. You see servants going in and out, some still looking for it, but you see 2 guards posted on the back wall, their helmets off, their the Adarian Watch is the guards that would be posted here. They are equipped with lever-action rifles, as well as a long sword and shield that they keep on them at all times. However, these 2 guards in particular, their helmets are removed. The rifles are sitting off to the side. One of them is using their sword as kind of like a cane right now to like lean on. And the other one doesn't have their weapons on them at all. The sword and shield is just not anywhere near them. And they're so deep in conversation, these 2 gentlemen, they don't even see you approach.
Yeah, she's just gonna come in, kind of look at the state that they're in, look to the, I guess, empty room or emptied room.
Mhm.
What exactly is going on here? You're disgracing everything here.
Princess, of course. No, we were simply,
I don't need excuses. I needed you to do it right the first time.
of course, Princess. Of course, we were observing the storeroom, making sure nothing wrong happens, making sure that there were no thieves, no pickpockets. We were doing just as we were instructed to do. Madam, Princess.
Then why am I hearing that our reserves have gone missing?
You see the 2 of them kind of like side-eye each other, and like the one, an older human man with kind of a scruffy beard says, "That's what the servants were talking about." What reserves, Princess? Oh,
One.
the one for, yes, Sir Gareth, yes. Those should have been right over there.
Is
They
this
haven't.
meant to be some slight against us or the Thornfields? Either way, I do not think it is appropriate in the slightest.
Oh no, not appropriate at all. Well, we were instructed to move them, Princess, and we were instructed to keep the utmost secrecy. As the other
Who
guard.
instructed you exactly?
He's simply trying to cover his tracks is all. We drank it.
All of it.
Mm-hmm.
2 of you. What exactly are you doing here? Who even employed you?
It was the Blade Master, Princess.
Right. Well, two of you are hardly in a position to maintain any sort of watch, I do suggest that, well, in fact, I will have people to relieve you of your duties and others to replace you, hopefully that are the slightest bit more competent. And perhaps have words about making sure you never take up a station again, at least not here.
Both of them in sync.
Yes, Princess.
And she immediately is just gonna click her heels and turn and just keep tracing this bloody rabbit hole up.
Yeah.
And, yeah. She's gonna go to their bath.
Okay, all right. So you're specifically going after Alexei, right? The Blade Master? Trying to find him?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, easy enough. You know exactly where to find him within the Keep of Dragon's End. There is a sort of training sparring arena where not only did you and your siblings train as kids, but also that many of the Adarian watch, especially those that will be serving in royal positions, where they'll serve and where they train. So you make your way to that area in particular, and you find immediately visible to you 3 barrels of wine marked with the sigils of the Theonian city-states, and sitting next to them is one Blade Master, Alexei. You see that gruff, clean-shaven, grizzled veteran grins as you enter.
Well, there you are, Princess Xanthi. I knew this would drag you out of those stuffy halls. You are getting rusty, and we can't have that, now can we? I see you have your trident on you.
As he draws his sword.
What do you say? You found your casks. Now you can take a small break, right?
I feel it's not appropriate to take a break until it's all been dealt with. You're giving me a headache with these kinds of guards.
I picked the 2 that I knew would fold under the least amount of pressure. So tell me, are you
More
going to have them
important.
removed from their post?
They should be. Whatever games you may be setting up, it is still an important day. Thornfield ought to be respected. And things like this, little slight things going wrong, it's not exactly the kind of face we wish to have.
I hear you, my princess. I understand you, but
And he kind of takes a couple of steps closer.
things are changing, no? You can feel it, can't you? If something were to happen, it best be prepared. Yes?
Is he like continually taking steps forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Xanthi kind of has like still that kind of really annoyed look on her, but she is watching each of his steps and kind of bracing for anything he does. And we'll just continue. There's a reason my father placed me in charge of making sure that all these events run smoothly. It was deemed as important, and it is something that, well, should be held as such, no matter previous engagements.
Go ahead and make a perception check with advantage.
With what, sorry?
With advantage.
Yeah, cool. I realized I did not have my sheet pulled up. Ha 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 ha.
It's been a while since we played some Dungeons and Dragons.
I have everything else pulled up, but it. Awkward ripping.
This is a good moment for everybody else to make sure they have their character sheet pulled up.
Yeah, honestly. Come on, D&D Beyond. Okay.
My
with
first
that,
tab.
Perception. Good thing I'm not good at that. That almost was a 1. That would have been so funny.
The prophecy. Xanthi, you're just a little too slow. You don't catch it quite as quick as it's coming towards you. As in this lightning fast moment, there is this raise up and strike over as you see this blunted blade come towards your face right at your neck as it stops right before it makes contact with the flesh. As you try to bring your trident up, you're too slow. And he goes,
See? Rusty.
She just has the slightest smile just come across her face, and will gladly take the excuse and is just going to try just taking a good old swing at him.
oh yeah. And the thing is, he is still very talented as a blade master, obviously, but you two have sparred so much where there are a couple of weaknesses that you know, and that you are very confident on. Xanthi, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you just to roll an attack. This will be kind of your skill check for this.
Just an attack?
Just an attack, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So as you bring that trident in this sort of flurry of blows, you're able to get it, one of it caught around his ankle, and you're able to sort of knock him off balance a bit. As he sort of loses it, he replaces himself, finds his footing, and you go back into that parry, back and forth and back and forth. Xanthi can definitely overpower him in this moment. So what does Xanthi do? What moves does she take to either disarm him, to win this sort of sparring match?
I think what she wants to do is just kind of get him to a point where his balance is kind of slipping, and she just wants to like rip him over basically, and just have him on the floor.
Okay, yeah. The worst thing you can do to somebody wearing plate armor is knock them over. So you do just that, sort of sweeping at his feet, knocking him over. He lands flat on his back as the dust rises, sword clatters out of his hand 10, 15 feet away. As he goes,
Very well. You got me.
Rusty.
Maybe a little.
as he kind of sits up and he gestures his hand out for you to help him up.
Yeah, she would have already been offering it.
So, have you given any thought to your current situation?
What do you mean?
Well, your father has proven quite the hard man to outlast, but he will not live forever. Have you thought about the Concord? If he will not name an heir, would you claim it?
Well, it is my right, isn't it? Father may not have named anyone, but he must have his reasons. It's not our place for anyone to question the king.
You are correct, Princess. I forget myself sometimes. But if I might add,
And at that moment, a royal messenger enters through the doorway, the archway that leads into the training area. Excuse me, Princess, I have a letter from the king.
A letter?
Yes.
And she'll grab it.
Hands it to you. You can see the silver seal, the falcon, the seal of the king, unbroken. So you crack it open and read the letter.
My darling daughter Xanthi, I know you are quite busy with your duties, but I'm sure there's a pretty good chance you're reading this in the training arena. Know that I harbor no shame for you in that regard. Your work is stressful, and finding moments for yourself is important. However, things are changing. I will be clearing your schedule and setting Lord Gareth in charge of your duties for the time being. Take tonight for yourself, but report to the council chambers tomorrow at 3 bells. I look forward to seeing you then. And good luck with the rest of your training.
Signed, Talon Falkrest.
She's just immediately just gonna kind of look up at Alexi, kind of like with an accusing look. Very unserious, but
What was in the letter?
well, he knew we'd be here at least. Suppose it makes sense if he sent the courier here. But if you're willing to continue, it seems that the schedule's been cleared. Though I'd like to see this one moved from here, I wouldn't want it broken.
Yes, I will have a few of my watchmen take care of it. A few of the good ones.
Yes, and please replace those other ones.
I will make sure to send them to the Undercity. Perhaps they'll be more comfortable there.
I suppose if we're gonna have anywhere that's weaker.
So, Xanthi, as you hold the letter in your hand, you stand in the training yard. Your duties cleared. Decorating and managing Lord Gareth's name day is no longer your concern. You hear the wind howl, and it carries this faint scent of frost and distant rain. The first whispers of fall settling over Crown's Rest. You look up to the sky, the keep, Dragon's End, and your father summons whatever may await you in that council chambers. That weight that was settled on your shoulders so many years ago feels just a little bit heavier in this moment. So, with that, Xanthi, we conclude your part of the 0.5. And we move on to Kalen, the third born. Kalen, yours starts just a little differently than the rest. Yours begins within the Serpent's Grove at the age of 3. This tangled, mist-filled forest where sunlight pierces through the canopy in thin, golden shafts. The air, it hums with life. Birds, insects, and the distant, melodic whisper of something ancient. Kalen, you stand small and curious, wandering deeper into the forest. Your bare feet brush against mossy ground. This world, though, it feels dreamlike. A place between memory and illusion. And from the shadows... No, from those shafts of golden light, or from the mist, from the fog, from the birds' chirpings, from something, somewhere, something different. You feel something urge you forward. Something echo in your mind, not a voice, but a feeling.
Pick one, and only one.
As the mist envelops all around you, a stone pedestal, smooth, appears in front of you. And on it lies 3 objects, Kalen. A small dragon skull, polished and gleaming white, its eye sockets impossibly deep. A leather-bound book of a strange dark texture covered with faint runes. And a flower crown with golden petals, each shimmering faintly in the dim light. Kalen, you were told to only pick one. So, which is it?
I think. As she kind of reaches her hand forward, every now and then she has to blink a few times because she keeps thinking she sees something out of the corner of her eye. But the moment she looks, there's just nothing there. She pulls her hand back and she looks at the 3 items again. And she reaches towards the dragon skull.
Okay. You reach out and you take the dragon skull. Small. I mean, fitting into your hand, just a little bit bigger. This was, I mean, not even a wormling, a newborn dragon that this skull was taken from. You hold it in your hands and the other 2 fade away. The moment feels important to you, even at 3 years old. But it's fleeting. This memory that's just out of reach, that Kaylin barely remembers. But after you choose, that strange feeling, it echoes through you once more. Not a voice, but a feeling. Remember. And everything fades into a swirling fog. The memory abruptly ends. And Kaylin, to this day, you're not sure if it was just a dream, as you don't have a dragon skull anywhere in your possessions. Not in the Serpent's Grove and not in Dragon's End or anywhere in Crown's Rest. But then we shift. Not to Kaylin as an adult, but to Kaylin's real choosing ceremony. At age 11, in a quiet chamber within Dragon's Inn that's lit by the morning sun. The room is far smaller and more somber than the grand ceremony of her sibling, Xanthi, who had hers many years ago, and Merrick's, whose is taking place today after yours. The air is still, and only the sounds coming from distant bells tolling across the keep. Kaylin, you sit quietly at age 11, your hands folded in your lap, and there are a group of individuals around you. Talon sits close to you. A small bit of graying now appearing in his beard and hair, but still young in his eyes. Xanthi stands tall and composed at 18 years old, watching from the side with quiet judgment. Merrick, 8 years old. He fidgets near Xanthi, his excitement barely contained. Several priests of the Church of Unity murmur prayers. Their presence is very heavy in this room. And Nan, the kindly wet nurse that's also from the Serpent's Grove, stands nearby with a soft smile. The pedestal in front of you holds 3 objects. A letter opener made from dragon bone dusted with emeralds. A bracelet of gold and green, its charms jingling softly. And finally, a mechanical wyvern toy. Delicate and intricate, its gears whir softly as it spins slowly, descending into circles. Talon kneels beside you as you sit in front of the small pedestal, looking at the 3 objects. And he says,
I know it may feel strange, my girl. But I am glad you're here. Truly. This place, it can be cold, but it's yours now too. Whatever you choose, I stand with you, and I hope one day, truly, that this will feel like home.
His words are genuine, Kaylin. You can feel it, but you have experienced a lot of emotions this past month. So, like I said before, not what 11-year-old Kaylin would pick, but knowing everything you know about Kaylin, which item would she pick?
Once again, she's kind of found herself looking out of the corner of her eye, but this time a little bit more with intent. Like, she's looking for something, and she looks towards, like, the corners of the room, or, like, corners where the light doesn't quite touch, as if she's looking into the shadow, waiting for something. But not quite finding anything there. She's going to reach towards the bone dagger knife opener.
The knife opener.
Knife opener. I think it reminds her of what she thought she chose long ago.
You reach towards and you grab it. And you bring it close. And when you do, Talon celebrates. There! A fine choice! A Falkrest through and through you are, Caitlin. A Falkrest through and through! But Talon is the only one celebrating, really. Xanthi has duties to attend to. As soon as the choosing's done, she moves on. Merrick is escorted out by several servants now that the choosing is done, as he has to be dressed and prepared for his choosing ceremony later in the afternoon. The priests, however, stay, murmuring to one another. She is touched. Yes, yes, yes. Marked by the path, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. As they slowly begin to march out, leaving just you and your father. There were two more that were supposed to be here, but didn't show up. And you're not sure why. You've only been here a short period of time, but Talon's current wife and their daughter, Octavia, you think, was supposed to be here, but they weren't. You hold the letter opener tightly, and Talon sits with you, hand on your shoulder. He doesn't say words, just trying to be there. But many years pass. Kaylin is no longer that young girl. Kaylin is now 26. And in a dimly lit apothecary, Kaylin, you work within the Reaches. This shadowed district bordering the undercity of Crown's Rest. The air, it smells of herbs, ink, and something faintly metallic. Shelves are crammed with vials, tinctures, and handwritten labels. The streets outside bustle in quiet desperation as those in need come and go. Kaylin, you work efficiently as the camera pans in through the window and sees a focused young woman working diligently. So Kayla, please describe your character.
Yes, so Kaylin, she is a half-elf with very pale skin. She's about 5'2", very slender build, very petite, but she has these vibrant hazel eyes that seem to pierce through people. Long, black raven-like hair, but she keeps it in two long braids, almost sweeping the floor when she walks. And interwoven in those braids, she has gold charms and trinkets, little bits of bones and feathers. She's very sharp, pointed features, kind of like a clever smile, always hinted on her face, a very sharp, cunning gaze. She wears dark blues, black robes, but always a high collar. On her right hand, she wears these claw-like rings that are connected by small chains, and it wraps around her wrist. Whereas her right hand, it's actually completely missing at the wrist, and instead there's this deep purple ethereal image of a hand and a gem at that wrist, and it's constantly casting Mage Hand, as though that is like her prosthetic hand. At all times with her Samson, there's this strange ferret-like creature, has small horns, small little fangs, and it wears this very similar air of intelligence about it as Kaylin. Their eyes are very similar, they're sharp as if they're both listening. And he's currently resting upon her shoulders as she is working away.
All right. Yeah, you see that Samson actually, every once in a while, he'll move from your shoulders, and before you even ask for something, he'll bring it to you from the various stores and shelves that are behind you. individuals, they come and go, asking for small remedies for a cough or maybe for congestion or a stomachache. You give them the tinctures and the medicines they need, and they go unhappy. There's no charge here. This is something that is covered by the crown. Public health care. Who could have thought, right? But Kaylin, as the day continues, something strange happens. A middle-aged woman kind of stumbles in, coughing, clutching her chest, coughing very violently. Her skin is pale, and you can see that her veins around her neck and crawling up her face are tinged faintly green as she comes in saying, "Please, I'm having trouble breathing."
Here, come in, quickly. Just come in. And Caitlin's gonna, go over to her and take her by the arm. She's gonna look towards Samson, and he knows that look. And Samson's actually a little handkerchief in his mouth. Gonna run over and bring it over to her so she can cough into it.
She looks towards the ferret. "Thank you," and takes it.
Can Kaylin, as she coughs into it, take it away from her actually and see what color is in the handkerchief?
Yeah,
She's
it is
kind of coughed up.
deep green.
When did all this start?
The cough, it came on a couple days ago. And I thought it was nothing, just a simple cough. I'd been traveling recently, and I thought that perhaps it would just go away, but it's gotten quite worse.
Traveling where exactly? And have you had any nightmares?
No nightmares. I was traveling within the lands of House Thornfield, close to the Serpent's Grove.
Does Kaylin recognize what this might be?
Go
As
ahead and
she
make
inspects the mucus and
yeah, go ahead and make a medicine or history check. Either or. I'll say with advantage because you spend all your time these past few days. Like, you're in your comfort zone, you know?
All right. 1, 2.
Oh, nice.
Let's go with that first. She definitely does not have COVID.
All right. So Kaylin, with a 14, you are not very familiar with illnesses specifically born of the Serpent's Grove. You were there for a time, but it was never something you practiced when you were living there, right? You spent your life living as a child, you know?
Yeah.
Your mother would try and teach you things from time to time, but just like most kids, in one ear, out the other, in a lot of cases. So you're not sure about the Serpent's Grove specifically, but the veins on the neck, the green color of the blood, it is something that is immediately very concerning to you, because it is something that plagued the lands of Adaria long ago in the Plague of Hollowed Veins. It was actually the plague that killed your uncle and his heirs, as well as about a quarter of the population of Adaria. That is what this is reminiscent of. However, the symptoms are not exactly the same. You can see that, for one, nightmares and hallucinations were big, but also irritated, inflammation a lot of the time. Also, like redness of skin and inflammation was a really big thing, but you don't see any of that on her. It's just the green of the veins.
Okay.
However, with a 14 in medicine, I would say that you do know of an expert in illnesses of the Serpent's Grove within the keep of Dragon's End. And that would be Nan.
Okay. Yeah, so Kaylin just kind of looking at this woman, assessing. She's just gonna say, "All right, I don't want to alarm you, but I want a professional opinion before I treat you. I don't want to give you anything that's going to make it worse. So if you would, I would just ask that you stay here for a few minutes, and I'm going to consult with someone who will know better, okay?"
All right.
All right. Here. And she's going to reach over to her table and just kind of grabbing an empty cup, she's going to grab a different set of vials, some strange, sickly, purple, gloppy liquid, and then mix it with another strange, kind of like reddish liquid. Mixing it together, Kaylin knows exactly what this is. Kayla doesn't, but Kaylin does. Mixes it together and hands it to this woman. Drink this. It'll help with the cough for now.
Thank you. And she drinks it, and you can hear the cough definitely calms down in intensity just moments after drinking it. But she takes a seat, and Samson crawls up on your shoulder, and you begin to make your way towards the keep.
Yes.
Okay. So, as you make your way out, there are 4 armed guards of the Adarian Watch standing outside your apothecary, as they're not going to leave the princess, one of the princesses of Adaria, undefended, near this close to the
Kaylin
Undercity.
immediately rolls her eyes as she walks out of the building, seeing them. She
They-
almost quickens her pace to make them work for it.
They nod, and they do work for it. And Kaylin, you are familiar with the decorum here. You're supposed to. There is a monorail system within monorail tram. There's a tram in Crown's Rest that will take you from the Reaches to the upper city right near the keep. So you have your own private cab that royalty uses whenever they go up and down throughout the city. So you make your way towards there with the armed guards and make your way up to the keep. From the tram, I mean, you get a really good view of the city. Crown's Rest is a sprawling metropolis. Sometimes when you're walking through the streets, it's hard to remember that this is a city of over 1 million people. Almost 2 million individuals live in this city. It's no wonder that sickness can spread rather quickly. You just hope that her situation, for one, is not the plague of hollowed veins, and hopefully is not spread too much. You make your way up to the keep, and the guards stop escorting you for the most part in the keep to follow you to the rest of the places you go, and very easily within the personal apothecary within the keep, you find Nan. The older woman comforting, she greets Kaylin warmly as you enter the room, and she says, oh, my, look at you, girl. I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. Oh.
Well, the people definitely keep me busy, I will say. You look well?
Oh, thank you. I don't feel a day over 85.
Well, you're certainly not a day over 87. And Kaylin gives her a wink.
Ah, yes. Well, my girl, I'm sure this isn't just a wellness check. What can I help you with?
Well, I had a very sickly woman come to me only a few moments ago. A very nasty cough. Her veins are green, and what she's coughing up is also a very sickly green. I didn't want to jump to the extreme. I know that it's not that. But I wanted to know what you thought. She said she was traveling somewhat near home, actually.
Oh, very good. Yes, easily could be mistaken for the plague of hollow veins, but it is not that. Let me see here. And you see she goes up to a small bookshelf and pulls off an older tome, begins to flip through it. Ah, yes, here we are. This is serpent fever, my dear. It is
Who came up with that name?
Zazarus, actually, one of the dragons of the Dragon's Triarchy. It was a disease that she purposely created and spread throughout her people to keep them subdued, sickly, easier to manipulate that way. A truly inspiring idea. However, I do have a cure for it here that was found near the rebellion. However, the order is very important. So over there, what I'd like you to find is birch bark Serpent's Balm and Moondew Petals. Can you do that, my dear?
Yes. She
Very-
scurries over.
All right, so you know this well enough. You grab 2 of the things. Samson grabs the 3rd, brings it over to you. Very good. And, well, good. You should probably learn this in case it comes up again. So first, you're going to want to take the birch bark, ground it into a powder, then apply the Serpent's Balm into the mixture, making sure to mix it thoroughly, and finally, rip up those petals and lightly place them in, mix it with water, boil it, and that should be good. All right?
Right.
Go ahead. And, Kaylin, I would like you to make a... You know what? As you're doing this...
Don't let me accidentally poison this woman, Joe. It's only the first game.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? What a way to go.
People don't already like Kaylin. I don't need more reason.
In this moment in particular, I'd like you to make just a straight charisma check as you feel something influencing you here. As you're going through the movements, you feel this push and pull, this something within. Okay, 15. That is a success. As you mix the ingredients, adding the water, boiling it, reducing it into this almost like chunky tea. It does not have a very pleasant texture to drink, you know that much, but you've successfully created the cure for the serpent's fever. Nan looks to you and smiles and says, "Congratulations! Very good work, my dear. You're a natural."
Well, I learned from the best. Thank you. It is appreciated. I'm glad I can go to someone who knows this stuff.
Of course.
People around here don't know much, so it's nice to have shared company.
That is very, very, very true.
All right, let me get back to her. I don't want her to be alone for too long.
Yes. And, of course, I'm always happy to be a resource, but you don't always need something from me to stop by, all right?
Of course.
All right.
I will see you soon, Nan.
I can't wait. You and Samson make your way out, back to the guards, back to the tram, and eventually back to the apothecary. And as you return, she's still sitting there, a little woozy, honestly, as the cough is kind of receded. You can tell it was giving her a fair bit of exhaustion, not really able to sleep with such an intense cough. But as you enter, she goes, Princess, you've returned.
Please. Kaylin is fine. And I didn't catch your name. I apologize. What was it?
My name is, Caleth.
What did you say your name was?
Caleth.
Okay, I was like, Kaylin and Kaylin. Well, Caleth, it is a pleasure to meet you. And a special friend of mine has worked something up. This should help. And she's gonna hand her the chunky tea.
Okay. So she immediately downs it. You can see there is this kind of revulsion immediately, but she continues to down it. And as she does, you can see the veins slowly start to dull and green as that inflammation around her face fades slightly. And she breathes easy. There's still a bit of a raspness from the scarring, but that'll heal in time. You're confident. Gods be praised. Thank you. I am forever in your debt, Kaylin.
It's really no problem at all.
And I know that no payment is necessary, but please, I hear that you are a lover of charms. Please accept this. As she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small charm in the shape of a dragon's tooth.
Oh. This is beautiful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It was something that I made while I was in the Serpent's Grove. I know that the dragons and all they did was horrendous, but I think there's a certain majesty in them. only those ones weren't so brutal.
I agree. It's nice to share with people who have such a mindset. You don't find that often. Do you travel to the Serpent Grove a lot?
No, this was my first time. Sadly, I don't think I'll be returning, honestly. I don't know if I can live with that cough any longer than I had it already.
No, the air there is just different. And I'm sure that was just a fluke. Some of our immune systems are not as strong as others. Especially as we grow in age. She pats her on the hand. But if you ever get the chance to go back, enjoy it. Don't let this dissuade you. There's no place like the Serpent Grove.
Well, next time I have some free time from the Gilded Quill, I'll make sure to make my way there. Give it another try.
Kind of squeezes her hand. Right, well, I will give you a nice parting gift as well. And she goes over and she finds a couple of small bones that she has in a tray and a piece of black thread. And she very quickly ties it into a charm necklace as well. And it looks like it was maybe like some type of small leg bone of a lizard or something very tiny and delicate. And Kaylin will press it to her lips and whisper something under her breath, and then she'll hand it over to Calith. Next time you're in the Serpent's Grove, this will help watch over you. There are things that like to linger in the shadows there, but not all of them are so scary, I promise.
Of course. Thank you, Kaylin. It is a great honor to receive something from you. And she takes it graciously and bows her head.
Well, don't let me keep you. You have lots of daylight left and a nice healthy set of lungs now. Go enjoy the rest of your day.
I will. Thanks to you. She nods and she'll stand and she'll bow once again and exit the apothecary. As she exits, you continue to work through the rest of the day, but the patients coming in at evening slow down considerably. Till eventually, as you're getting ready to close, a messenger arrives, a royal messenger, holding in her hands a letter from the king, from your father, the seal bearing that silver falcon.
A letter for you, princess.
Lady Kaylin is fine.
My apologies,
I'll take
Lady
the letter.
Kaylin. It's the letter. Crack open the seal, and it reads thusly.
My dear daughter Kaylin, I have heard of the good work you do in the Reaches, and I am proud of you for it. The people need you there, and you have not failed them. However, I must ask that you retire from that work. I will send priests to manage the sick in your absence, but you are needed here, in the keep. Please report to the council chambers tomorrow at 3 bells. I hope you'll understand.
Signed, Talon Falkcrest.
I think Kaylin actively sighs. She holds up the letter to Samson. And you know what? I suppose our favorite people in the world are gonna be there too. And she rolls her eyes and packs it away.
Kaylin, you stand at the window of the apothecary holding the letter, thinking that thought. Outside, the Reaches are alive with shadows and movement. The world you've carved for yourself, far removed from the marbled halls of Dragon's End. Samson, sitting on your shoulder, as the wind carries that faint sound of bells tolling in the distance as you slowly pack up your personal equipment here in the apothecary. As the camera fades to black, we move on from there to Merrick. Merrick, you stand proudly at 8 years of age on the Crown's rest dock. Salty breeze roll off the seas. The sound of creaking ships, flapping sails, and distant seabirds fill the air. The water reflects a crisp, clear sky, yet tensions hang like a mist over the assembled group. You stand on a wooden platform near the edge of the deck, a vast ocean stretching beyond you, the Dragon Strait. At your back is Talon, your father, and Sharn Veltaris, your mother. They stand side by side in close proximity but miles apart in demeanor. Talon exudes warmth and pride, while Sharn's posture is cold, rigid, and already distant even from you. You also see Caitlin, standing at age 11, having just done her ceremony earlier this morning. She is pale, glassy-eyed, looks almost ready to collapse, being near this large of a crowd, especially being not the center of attention, but close to this close to it. Xanthi, at age 18, stands nearby, posture proud, regal. It's strange, Merrick. She looked so tired and annoyed. For Kaylin's, but for yours, well, you think she looks proud, but she's not looking at you. She's looking out to the audience, to the people. It's a strange feeling. And then finally, to the far side, you see Octavia, only 2 years old at this point, a babe, clinging to her mother's arms, the new queen of Adaria. Both of them watch wide-eyed as you stand there. However, Merrick, in this moment, as you try and be happy about this big moment in your life, the sound of the previous night's argument still echoes in your mind. It rings louder than the ceremony itself. Talon steps forward. He addresses the crowd. His words meant to inspire and guide, but you barely hear them. The wind carries your father's speech away, drowning beneath the creak of wood and the distant clang of bells. Talon finishes, his voice cutting through just as Merrick drifts back into the moment, as he leans in and says,
Follow your heart, my boy. Don't worry about anyone else but you.
And your gaze drops to the table before you, a velvet cloth over top. 3 gifts. The first one is a collection of miniature soldiers, finely carved wooden figures, each painted in the color of Adaria's armors. A compass, beautifully crafted brass with intricate fidget gears along the side. And finally, a ceremonial bow, a polished bow of mahogany with silver inlay that is elegant and functional. So as those 3 items sit in front of you, like I said, don't think about what Merrick at age 8 would pick. Think about everything you know about him and what fits best for him.
Merrick definitely looks between all 3, like he's interested in all 3, but he finally reaches out and he takes the compass.
Okay. Reach out, grab the compass, and as you pull it in, you feel that wind pick up, and Merrick, you have a strange moment, to say the least. As ever so briefly, you hear this song, as if someone sings the moment you pick up the compass, and immediately it vanishes. But there's that faint glimmer, something more. But as soon as it's gone, as soon as it happens, your father, he picks up you, his son, and says, There he is, my son! The strength of Falkrest blood runs through him! Ha ha! As he holds you up, as the crowds cheer and celebrate Merrick Falkrest. Merrick Veltaris? Both? Neither? Even at this young age, it's something that Merrick grapples with, as the next thing he hears, even over the crowd, is the murmur of Sharn behind him.
We'll see if he makes it worth celebrating.
She mutters as she walks away. Talon sets Merrick. He sets you back on the ground. And Merrick, you watch Sharn disappear onto a ship in the distance, preparing to leave. Once again. As she always does. The wind chills slightly. Voices around you seem to fade, leaving this sense of hollow quiet beneath us, your father's cheers. However, Merrick does not always, and is not, that young 8-year-old boy anymore. No. Merrick is now a grown man, 23 years of age. Located within the falconry roost of Crown's Rest, a broad-shouldered, capable young man, as the camera pans up that marbled stone structure of Dragon's Inn to the roost, we see that broad-shouldered, capable young man standing on a perch, looking out across the city, waiting for the falcons, the messengers, to return from their long voyages. And with that, Ryan, I'd like you to describe your character.
Yeah, so Merrick is 6 feet tall, pretty average size for a half-orc of his age. He has kind of a paler green skin. It's almost a greenish gray. It's not quite the darker, vibrant green of his mother. It's almost a mix between how his mom looks and how his grandfather looks, as his grandfather has like a very kind of dark gray complexion. He has long black hair that goes a little past his shoulders, just loose and not braided, not designed in any way, just straight back. He wears this these vibrant reds over his leather armor, and he has a bag on his side that he has various just kind of tools and things that he works with. Definitely the thing that sticks out the most would be the very lovely Arcan rifle that he has on hand. Right now it's in a almost kind of like a collapsed condition. The Arcans are really good with technology, and this one's able to have the barrel shorten. The butt of the rifle can kind of slip in to make it a little bit easier to carry and maneuver in tight areas, so he has that just on him right now. But yeah, that's Merrick for you.
Fantastic. So Merrick, that long cloak, right, sort of resting on your shoulders, the fur cape sort of tussling in the wind as you stand within the falconry roost of Crown's Rest. This morning, though, is different. There's a cold air moving in as fall moves closer. The birds are restless, their calls sharper, more urgent, and Merrick, you turn instinctively to a nearby nest. A clutch of eggs lie nestled within, but one trembles, and it starts to fracture, these sort of like spiderlings across the surface, then another and another and another. The roost fills with a delicate sound of shells cracking, tiny beaks pushing free from the confines of their eggs. However, one chick, smaller than the rest, struggles, its fragile form barely able to break through its shell. Merrick, do you do anything? Do you intercede at all?
He knows that if it is too weak to break out, then like getting it out earlier than planned could actually be more dangerous for it.
Yeah.
So I think he heads over and he very gently would kind of separate it from the others. And I think he would just watch it, just trying to see kind of like, does he need to intervene, or would it be best to let the bird get its strength and have it just be a little bit of a late bloomer? And so he's just kind of trying to look and see, like, what does he need to do in this situation?
Yeah. So you investigate closer and you watch, and you can see the other ones. They break out of the shells. They begin to sort of move around. You can see the mama birds fly over and begin feeding the small chicks. However, the small one still hasn't broken out of its egg yet. as the birds continue to be fed, and it seems as though the mothers are done feeding. And just as they finish feeding and the mothers fly off for a moment, you see the small beak break through. Very, very, very tiny, but there's a strength to it. It's trying. It's trying so hard. And as it breaks through and it begins to crawl its way out, you can see that nothing's wrong with the bird. The chick, it's just smaller than the rest. However, the mothers aren't here to feed it. And you can see its beak is motioning up and up and up, trying to get something, anything, any morsel of food.
I assume the oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you want to intercede at all?
Yeah, I assume the tower would have something for this kind of a situation.
Oh, yeah.
So he would get whatever kind of supply he could get and do what he can to get a mortar and pestle and crush it up into a paste that the bird could easily swallow and digest before very carefully kind of taking the egg and holding it still and trying to get very little at a time just to make sure it's not getting too much, but putting what food it can into the bird's mouth.
Oh, yeah. There is a collection of treats and food that's kept up here for the falcons and birds, regardless of whether they be messenger or trick birds or attack birds, whatever they are, for situations like this. So using fresh ingredients, a couple of worms, actually, you end up taking them and crushing them up into a mortar or pestle. Very gross. But it's just what the bird needs. And you take it, and with these tiny tweezers, picking up little bits at a time, you feed the small bird. And with that, you can see it eagerly grabs at the food and eats until eventually it sort of begins to break more of the shell and emerges, a little smaller than the rest. But you know this bird will be okay. It'll grow up and be just as strong as its siblings.
Yeah, Merrick just smiles as he takes off the gloves that he was using to kind of handle it. You're going to be just fine.
Yeah. As you set it down, you hear the heavy footfalls of the Master Falconer here, Master Weimar, a dwarf in his later years, as he sort of stomps forward and says,
Excuse me, my prince?
and he holds up a scroll in his hand, a sealed letter.
This came in from one of the falcons. It's specifically meant for Lady Solara. Figured you might want to deliver it.
Thank you, and he'll reach over and take it. Was there anything you needed me to take care of here before I left?
No, you're fine. Just, don't dawdle. Understand, young men can be distracted around pretty young ladies, so try and keep up the pace. We've got a job to do here, all right?
Yes, sir. And he'll motion over to the nest where all the eggs just hatched. Just keep an eye on them. They seem fine, but you never know of these things.
Very true. I'll keep an eye on it.
And Merrick will head off right after that.
Okay. So you head off. Now, as you make your way into the keep, the sounds of the birds fade in the distance as the sound of whispering nobles becomes much more present. You go to her chambers, and as you knock on the door, there is no answer. So in this current moment, you're not actually sure where she is. So how does Merrick want to go about tracking down Lady Solara?
I mean, I think Merrick's known her long enough now that he kind of knows that she's very busy. She has a lot of work to do. Is there like a primary place where she does a lot of her work, where she would go to, just to do her work and her research?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a private library within Dragon's End where she ends up doing a lot of her work.
I think he'll head there first before he bothers anyone or tries to find someone who knows where she is. I think he's just going to try and see if he can find her on his own first.
Yeah, of course. So you make your way through the halls of Dragon's End and make your way to that private library. You begin looking around, and there are a few individuals here. It's not a very large space, but no sign of Solara. Searching up and down the corridors on the second and third level and the private workrooms, you don't see her anywhere. However, there is an individual that notices you looking around. As you see... How do I? Oh, there it is. Okay. A tiefling woman wearing deep, dark black and mauve robes with these large curled horns against the back of her head. You see Archmage Morgana Umbra as she sees you and says,
Ah, Prince Merrick. Looking for something that I can help with, perhaps?
Yes, yes, Archmage. I was looking for Lady Solara. I was curious if you happen to know where she is. She's not where I usually find her working.
The young Astrolore woman was looking for peace earlier. I think I saw her heading towards the garden, my prince.
Thank you very kindly. I appreciate that. And he kind of motions to the letter. It's very urgent. She gets this. I do not mean to leave on such short notice, but I must go. Thank you again, though.
Of course.
And Merrick will excuse himself.
You can see as you sort of nod your head and move away, she gives a small bow. As in the hierarchy here, you are more important, being a prince of the realm. She bows, but her eyes follow you as you leave, just slowly tracking you till eventually you leave the library and you feel her gaze lift off you. You make your way towards the garden of Crown's Rest, a beautiful garden where the crimson bloom is, that large tree with these sort of deep crimson red petals. Several fountains spread out throughout the area. And there you see Lady Solara, a solemn look on her face, the Arcan woman. Arcans having changed quite a bit from when they were last seen, or when they initially came to the material plane some 3,000 years ago. Much smoother skin, more human-like features, but silver skin and bright blue eyes. Their skin still hardened, reminiscent of that chitinous plate that was once there, but much more humanoid, human in appearance. You can see she holds a small handkerchief in her hand, dabbing at her eyes as she quietly cries near one of the fountains.
I think Merrick kind of stops for a second, not expecting that. And he kind of takes a moment to make sure he's ready before he walks up, and he tries to walk at an angle so it would seem like he hasn't seen her crying. And he'll just say, I hope I'm not interrupting. I heard you needed some peace.
Oh, yes, I did. I'm sorry. I did not wish for you to see me like this, Merrick. Yeah.
He'll move down and he'll sit next to her. What happened?
I was given word by one of the servants. They heard that my Uncle Titus passed away. He was so young, only in his 40s. No one knows why, apparently. At least the servant didn't, but I always loved my uncle. He's the one who inspired me to learn more about medicine and science and magic. I'm just going to miss him.
Merrick will reach out and he'll put his hand on top of hers. He won't quite grip it unless, she grabs him back. He's just kind of doing it for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she will. hold it back.
He must have been an incredibly special man to inspire someone like you. I'm sure that he loved you dearly too. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Thank you, Merrick. I'll receive some comfort in his funeral. which I'll have to return back to Tomehold for, but in the meantime, it's nice at least having you here.
Do you want me to ask Father if I can join you?
No. You have responsibilities here. I wouldn't dream of taking you away from them. I'll be okay. I'll have my family. But it means the world that you offer. Thank you.
I'm sorry to add to your plate, and he'll pull out where he kind of tucked the letter and hand it over to her. You don't have to read it now, but I am told it was important, but whenever you're ready for it,
No,
take
of
whatever
course.
time you need.
And she grabs it. It does... Oh, that's strange. It,
Oh, and you can see she looks at the sigil. And Merrick, you have obviously been studied in the royal court and all of those important people, but you hadn't really thought to look at it. But as she recognizes it and you
Wasn't
look
his.
down at it, you recognize it now as well. This is not just a seal of the House Tomehold, but it's the Lord or Lady Paramount's sigil personally of Lady Valora Astralor, Lady Paramount of House Astralor.
God, it's all right.
And she cracks open the seal and she begins to read. You can see she kind of holds her hand up to her mouth in disbelief, and then slowly it drops.
My uncle, he was slain. She didn't use the word assassinated, but that's what it seems. And, no one knows who or how or why, but she's told me I'm to stay in Crown's Rest for my safety, and that his works will be transferred to me. He was working on something related to Draconic history. I don't know. But I'm to continue it.
She rolls it up and tucks it into her sleeve.
I know it's not what you want to hear, but we should reach out to both of our houses, see what we can do about making sure you have increased security at all times. I know you detest violence, but having people just around you who can fight will make you safer.
I agree. And if...
You see she needs to catch her breath for a moment before more tears start coming.
If he was slain, and Lady Valora thinks it's important that his work is continued, it must have been important. So then, yes, I will gladly accept. And at least you'll be here in Crown's Rest as well, then?
Of course. If you change your mind about wanting me to accompany you, just let me know. The work I do is important, but you are as well.
Thank you, Merrick. You are important to me as well.
Oh. Those eggs I was telling you about, they hatched today.
Well, they did.
Mm-hmm. Every single one of them healthy. One was a little bit of a slower start, but they'll be fine. Fighter, that one, I can tell.
Even those birds that have a bit of a slower start, I think they can grow into fine animals.
Indeed. Looking around, is she completely by herself, or were there any guards that followed her or anything?
There are 4 guards posted in this room, or in this garden to keep an eye on her. However, Merrick, as the two of you share a moment together, you hear footsteps coming through the entrance to the garden. And as you turn around, you see a royal messenger arriving, a letter in his hand carrying the silver seal of the Falcon of House Falkrest, the seal of the king.
Excuse me, my prince, Merrick. A letter for you from the king.
Merrick will just take it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And he'll depart.
And Merrick will look over to Solara to see if there's anything she wants to talk about. He's trying not to just straight up open the letter to, like, shift gears.
She says, no, go ahead. It's from the king. It's important.
He'll crack the wax seal and then open it up.
The letter reads thusly.
My dear son Merrick, your work as Chief Falconer has been instrumental to the refinement and efficiency of the Roost. I'm very proud of what you've built and what you've helped build. But it is time for a new calling now, one where your skills will serve an even greater purpose. Report to the council chambers tomorrow at 3 bells. Change is upon us, and I know you will meet it with strength, the same strength I have always seen in you.
Signed, Talon Falkrest.
And after reading it, he'll hand it to Solara so that she can read it as well.
Well, do you think this could be in relation to
As she kind of rolls the letter up.
naming an heir?
It could be. Whatever it
that's-
is, it's important.
That's good news then, right?
I think it's great news.
She kind of
Whew.
clasps your hand and says,
You'd make a great king, Merrick.
Thank you. I know you're probably tired of me asking, but are you sure there's nothing I can do for you now?
If you could just sit with me a little longer, I'd appreciate it.
For as long as you want. And he will actually, like, grasp her hand.
Yeah.
Now that they're sitting together.
So the two of you sit near the edge of the garden, near that crimson bloom, letter in hand, as Solara watches you quietly. The weight of her family's news mirrored with your own. And you can also hear the distant caws of falcon drift on the autumn wind. And somewhere below, far below the keep, waves crash against the cliffs. The sun begins to set over the sea, gilding the horizon in red and gold. And Merrick, your gaze turns slowly to the distant docks that you can just barely see, where your mother's ship still comes and goes periodically. The winds tug at your coat as the words of your father's letter echoes in your mind. That it's time for a new calling. As the camera pans away into the sunset, we dive once more into the past. To our final child, Octavia. Or Via, as she prefers to be called. So, Via. Your choosing ceremony takes place at the age of 6, located at the Crimson Bloom, the same location we just were with Merrick and Solara just, well, about 12 years prior. The massive tree with red petals at the heart of Dragon's End, its towering branches casting a deep shadow in the air crisp with autumn. The sky painted in soft grays and the petals gently falling to the ground like drops of blood. The assembled group, a mix of nobles, priests, the king's council, and your siblings, stand in a semicircle, their expression ranging from uneasy to disinterested. Via, you stand before a small pedestal at the base of the tree, your small frame dwarfed by the enormity of the moment in front of you. Behind you stands two figures. Your father, King Talon, and your mother, Queen Cersei Alisades. They stand together, which is quite the rare sight. Talon rests his hand lightly on your shoulder, where Cersei has this calm, serene presence. That is a sharp contrast to the tension amongst the nearby siblings. Edwin, at age 32, meets your gaze with a soft, reassuring smile, his hands clasped loosely in front of him. Xanthi, at age 20, stoic and proud. She glances down at Kaelin with a thinly veiled annoyance. Kaelin, the age of 14, pale and nervous, shifting uncomfortably, and Merrick, at age 11, appearing to, or trying to appear indifferent, fidgeting slightly, his eyes darting towards the ships visible in the distance. And finally, Octavia, sitting directly in the middle of them, the youngest of them all, feeling the weight of all of their collective presences bearing down on you. Talon's voice cuts through the quiet with his regal yet gentle tone.
Bring forth the gifts for the choosing.
Those words were a command, but as he kneels down towards you, Via, his words are warm and encouraging.
Remember, my dear, pick what speaks to you, not what you think you should pick.
And the gifts are presented. 3 of them. A cog-shaped fidget toy of some kind. Small, intricate device that clicks and chimes when softly spun. A doll in regal armor, this sort of dressed in fine miniature plate with flowing fabric, its blonde hair tied neatly. And then a strange ship toy, a model vessel unlike anything she's seen before. It sails at the top and the sides and a glowing crystal along its hull. So, like I said for the other kids, not what Via would pick at age 6, but everything Felicity knows about Via as a person. What would she pick?
Yeah. She would, kind of like taking in her dad's words, she would try to like step forward, just like all of her siblings, so like brave and everything, but trips over her feet and stumbles, but then she collects herself again and she's gonna grab the fidget toy.
So, Via, as you go to touch the fidget toy, there is this quick flash you see, you feel. 3 distinct flashes in a row. A ship sailing across a turbulent sea, shadows falling across the crimson bloom, and laughter turning into cries of anguish. And the vision, it comes as quickly as it goes. It leaves you breathless and confused, but then in a moment, as you pick the toy and hold it closely, everyone smiles and cheers, and you feel this shock as your eyes go wide, unsure of what to feel or experience or to do. But before you can react or say anything at all, Talon pulls you in, a proud smile, his voice booming as he addresses the crowd.
A fine choice my daughter has chosen with wisdom and heart. May she grow ever brighter in the days to come.
Cersei, your mother, she places a hand along your back and kneels down to you and says,
Your choice is perfect, little one. I am very proud of you.
But as the ceremony concludes and the priests and nobles and council leave the room, as well as your siblings, Via, you feel your eyes well with tears. You don't know why, but the visions, the ship sailing to the east, lingers in your mind. And you begin to cry. And though your parents comfort you, the feeling of something looming stays with you. However, as that vision of the past fades, we jump to the future. As Via, now a young woman, 19 years of age, within the Archmage's tower. A black spire attached to Dragon's End that looms over Crown's Rest, its exterior etched with glowing runes, its interior a blend of stone and arcane splendor, filled with shelves of books, floating candelabras, and soft whispers of enchantments. Via stands a bright-eyed young woman working as assistant to Archmage Morgana Umbrin. And Felicity, I'd like you to describe your character.
Yeah, so Octavia, she is pretty petite. I think she's slightly taller than Kaylin, though, so not the smallest of the siblings. She's a half air genasi. She really takes after her dad. She looks mostly human, but the air genasi elements are her really gray eyes, the swirls on her skin that are reminiscent of her mother. Her mother has a fluid, ever-shifting skin tone. And then her hair, as it's like a darker black, fades to a light gray, almost white at the ends, with wisps and curls that bounce, that have almost like a weightlessness to them, very similar to most air genasi. She still wears her school uniform dress, which is all black and pretty boring, but her personality shines through with her yellow cloak coat, her I guess arm warmers and colorful tights, and a belt that has just a little bit of design on it. So she just kind of spices it up. She carries her little school witch hat with her, which has the ribbon of her house, Wyvenor. And I mean, that's mostly her. Fiddle, her familiar, follows her around, probably just hopping around. He's more of an emotional support pet. He's not like Samson, where Samson will actually actively help. Fiddle's there for cuteness, and we love that for Fiddle. Oh, and Octavia does have a headband braid of her own hair, which is also similar to her mother's kind of hairstyles as well. Yeah, that's Octavia.
All right. Thank you very much. So, you serve as assistant to Archmage Morgana Umbrin, who is rather a strange anomaly serving on the King's Council. She's a rather renowned necromancer, serving one of the vassal houses of Astralore. But the king, your father, picked her regardless, and you have been serving as her assistant for several years now. And you think you've been doing a pretty great job, honestly. But your hands are smudged with ink, as you have spent every single day since you got home from your last year of school transcribing books, day in, day out, day in, day out, over and over and over again. The love of reading has almost been sapped from you, almost. As you're now just going through the motions. You're not even reading the books. You're just looking at the shapes and copying them down. These dull yet intricate treaties or even notes on arcane leyline disruption. I mean, just things that are important, sure, but why can't you transcribe something cool like powerful spells? But you do your work diligently, and you do your work well. However, partway through transcribing this incredibly boring tome on the history of House Warrendell, Morgana enters and looks down to you Via, almost like a falcon, an eagle perched up as she walks, looking down past her beak, and says,
Princess, there is a book I require, one you'll find within the lower archives. Use this key,
And she sets down this strange stone rectangle that has arcane runes inscribed on it. It's not a metal or brass key. It looks to be some arcane stone key. Do take care not to disturb the constructs within those archives. They will not hesitate to remind you of your purpose should you deviate. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, crystal clear. Don't worry about it. I got this. And she's gonna pick up the key really fast. Oh, I don't need to put that anywhere. Okay. Yeah. Wait. What was the book again?
It is a book on the dragon's hierarchy. Please and thank you.
Oh. All right. Yeah. Lickety split. On my way.
Very good. All right. So, you make your way down deeper, 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 heading towards the lower archives. And you find the door that you're supposed to go through, one you've never been through before, one she's never trusted you to go through. And you put in the key, you twist, and you can hear the stones crack and crumble as they almost like a Rubik's Cube. They kind of spin in different places and separate and spin and separate and spin and separate until there is this almost like watery door that isn't wet to the touch, but it looks like a pool of water that you would step through. But instead of a reflection, it's a library of sorts.
Okay, yeah, she's gonna think that's the coolest shit ever. Look at it, but then walk in, kind of oh my gosh, does it feel weird when I walk through it? She's definitely acting strange walking through the door.
Yeah, Via has, in her studies at Arkenvale, has gone through portals before, so she knows what it feels like, but this is way different. Traveling from one point of the material plane to another, especially when it's very close, like in Arkenvale, is one thing. From her readings, Via would be able to recognize that she's stepping through a pocket dimension. As she steps in, there is this whooshing feeling that overtakes all of her senses as she steps through and steps into this enormous library. 10, 15 stories high. Books stretching from the very bottom to the very top. And you see many, many, many constructs. Some humanoid, some bird-like. Carrying books, sorting books, some just standing guard. And there are two by the door that you walked in, that their heads as they look down towards you. As you hold the key in your hand, their heads immediately turn back up and out.
That's right, I belong here. And so she's gonna try and look and see if, is it organized like most libraries? There's gonna be the section for the dragons or period books. Okay.
There are, but it is so expansive that I will need you to make a couple of checks for me here to see how quickly you can find what you're supposed to find.
Yeah, okay. I can do that.
So let's go ahead and... So you're just trying to look through the books, using more like an academic talent of the knowledge of where things should be, right?
Yeah, she's going to start there, and then if she can't figure that out, we'll go from there.
Okay. Go ahead and make a history check with advantage, as you've spent a lot of time going through her books upstairs, which are still quite extensive, and also going through the libraries of Arkenvale, which are built in the basement of the schooling area, which is quite large.
Okay. It looks like I got a 15.
15? Okay, you search for the better part of an hour, and eventually you find the sections on dragons. However, as you recognize the sections on dragons, is maybe several hundred feet long, over all different types, all different species, from this age and all previous ages. You still have a lot to go through. You found the section, though, but in terms of where books on the Dragon's Triarchy are specifically, you're probably going to need to do some more digging or do something else to try and locate them.
Okay. I think Octavia would kind of look to see, if there's a construct nearby. but still not ask them for help right away. I think what she would do is look for the dragon's triarchy, but be okay that she's taking a slower approach because she's kind of wondering what she'll find along the way of looking for the dragon's triarchy.
Okay, go ahead and make me another history check.
Okay.
This
With
one's not
regular?
with yeah, regular, as you're taking your time to be very deliberate in this moment.
Okay.
And it's not as familiar. There's a lot more to cover here.
Hey, 19.
19, okay. Viet, you didn't need to ask any constructs for help because, you know what? You're smart. You know what you're doing. You don't need a robot's help. So you go through and you have a bit of a revelation as these books are broken down in two ways. And you recognize it from the way that she does it upstairs, where they're broken down by age, yes, but also in importance to her and what she's researching at the time. It's a very convoluted system that only she understands, and it makes your life hell when you're trying to find a book that she asked for, but you spend enough time, you recognize the pattern. And you know that she has not done any work with dragons or the dragon's triarchy, period. So you start searching higher and higher and higher until eventually you get to the 12th floor. And you find the book that she is looking for. A book written by a fairly renowned historical figure, one of your brother's namesake, actually. Merrick Dragonkin Emberlin. A book written by him over not just the dragon's triarchy, but also the spawn of the dragon's triarchy and his hunt of them.
Okay. And while she found this, so she'll like pull that out, was there anything else like that she noticed that was maybe in regards to like draconic rituals or anything that she noticed, or even like draconic language? Just out of curiosity. Don't know if she'll do anything with that if she even finds that.
Yeah, they're closer towards the bottom. When she was initially looking, there were several books on deciphering draconic language and script, even though that's something that is incredibly rare. And it's very strange that it's so close to the bottom. Another thing that was down there that I would say piqued her interest was a book written by... written by a scholar from the Third Age by the name of Bolorolos. And it was over the domination of a dragon by the name of Malgorath the Bone Tyrant.
Are there any constructs around?
Oh, yeah. Hundreds. Like the little bird ones, they're everywhere.
Yeah. All right. She'll think better. She's like, she'll just kind of like, you know, look at the aisle that they're in and remember that they're at the bottom, but she won't pull them out because she's too afraid. And so she'll just take her book that she was meant to go get and then head on back.
Okay. You head on back, one book in hand, although your curiosity piqued. You make your way out. None of the constructs bother you as you've done what you were instructed to do. So, as you make your way back upstairs, back into her private study, you see the door is partially ajar, and you hear voices, so you instinctively stop. There's still a bit of childlike curiosity that still has to be beaten out of you. So you don't announce yourself immediately. You stop and listen. And you hear your father's voice.
Morgana, I know you have found something. I can see it on your face. 7 years on my council has made your habits very plain to me. You've uncovered something troubling. My king, if there were cause for concern, I would not hesitate to inform you. For now, what I have found is incomplete. A thread that is yet to be unraveled. Until then, I would rather not speculate. You have enough on your plate. Though, it seems we have an observer. Would you care to join us, Octavia?
She'll like curl around the door. I found it.
Very good. Please, bring it here.
And as she says that, like holding out her hand for you to bring the book to her, your father waited for her to finish and says,
Ah, Octavia! Just as I thought you'd be, hard at work in the tower. Morgana and I were discussing a matter of the realm, but it seems I've found you at the perfect moment.
and he takes the book from your hand and hands it to Morgana behind him.
Yeah? What's up?
Well, your duties as assistant to the Archmage, and Morgana and I have already spoken on this, are to be temporarily suspended. Nothing you did wrong, mind you. It's just, things are changing within the kingdom, and I want to tell you more about it now, but it's best that I explain it to everyone when they get here.
Everyone?
Everyone, yes.
Wait, you seem really happy. This sounds kind of fun.
I'm happy that all of you are going to be in the same room together once more. That much is very true.
That will be great. Oh my god.
But it's a talk, really. You, me, and your siblings.
I mean, no, that's still gonna be really fun. I don't know what you gotta tell us, but I'm sure it'll be whatever. I don't know. Okay, so this is tomorrow then?
No, today. Actually,
Oh, today!
And you hear
Oh my gosh.
two bells tolling in the distance.
oh, the meeting is at 3 bells. Shall we get some lunch beforehand? You'll need
Oh my
your
god,
strength,
yes.
my dear.
This is kind of turning into the best day ever. Okay.
I'm very glad you see it that way, Via.
Hold on, real quick. Okay, Morgana, all of this is done. I don't know, is someone taking over for me? Because this all still needs to be transcribed still.
Yes, there is a student from Arkanvale who came highly recommended by your father, by the king, a friend of yours.
Is it Isadora or Poppy?
Isadora, yes.
That makes sense. She's gonna do so well.
I am ecstatic to get to meet her.
I think they're gonna like each other, she whispers to Talon.
Yes, I'm sure they will. Well, Morgana, please remember what I said. If anything comes to mind, do not hesitate to share. And, well, Via, what are you in the mood for today? I think that I could go with a nice, refreshing salad. What do you think?
I was thinking pasta, but salad I guess is cool too, so.
Let's see if we can do both, shall we? The king and a
some
princess, I think it's quite possible we can get what we want, don't you say?
Man, I hope so.
and he'll gesture his arm out for you to take it.
Yeah, and she'll take his arm.
All right.
Olive Garden. Exactly. That's where they're going.
Hell yeah. All right. And with that, Via, the two of you walk together down the winding stairs of the tower, your mind buzzing with unspoken questions. What books were in Morgana's private study? Whatever you need to talk about with your siblings in the next hour. Your fingers fidget, almost, reaching towards and your bag, perhaps that same fidgeting toy that you picked all those years ago. But the wind outside, it carries the scent of the crimson bloom, and the tolling of the bell fades as the screen fades to black. Although the siblings and children of Talon the Kind may clash or, in some cases, resent each other, their destinies have always been intertwined. And now, they stand on the threshold of a new chapter. One that may demand their unity more than ever. And on that note, we're not going to end our session, but we are going to take a slight break there. just so we can get some water, get some refreshments, and from there we will dive into our first first official session. So prologue concluded. Say hello to the children of Talon the Kind, and when we return in about we'll say 10 minutes, so at 40 your time, you'll see what exactly Talon called them home for, and what the future holds for the potential heirs of the throne of Adaria. Thanks for watching so far. Honestly, it's so amazing that there are so many of you here. Thank you so much for everybody that followed, for everybody that subbed. Fantastic, all of you. Thank you so much. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 10 minutes. All right? Thank you so much. BRB.